So I'm going to be honest, this one's a tricky pose, even for me, because, let me get the original here. The original is very lively, very dance-like, and it seems very simple, but if you get anything a little bit off, suddenly she looks like she's leaning too far back. So I made some notes to myself to fix that a little later. So we're going to take it a little bit slower today, just so you know. And yeah, hopefully you won't get bored in the middle, but if you do, I should mention that at the end of the month, you're going to do your own fairy with your own flower, your own butterfly wings, and then you'll need to pick a picture of some young child. So that could be you as a child, that could be somebody else you know as a child, or you can just search children photography and some kids will pop up. It won't matter if they have modern clothes on. I'll show you how to get around that, but we'll just need basically the face reference for that. Okie dokie, you need a piece of paper. You can do it in your sketchbook or with some paper that is better than printer paper, because printer paper is just too thin. So I'm going to use my chocolate brown pencil, my light brown, and we'll start with the face. And as you can see on mine, I placed her a little too high. There's a lot of space at the bottom and not as much space up by the flower. So instead of doing her like a third of the way down, I'm probably going to scooch it very close to halfway down. And over on the right. Oh, and actually, we're going to do a little trick today. Instead of trying to draw everything leaning, we're just going to turn our papers so that the corners line up, or your sketchbook so that the corners are going vertical. So that we can draw this right side up and not have to try to figure out how to do lean. There we go. So I'm going to start with her nose. See if I can zoom in even closer here. Try to keep her in the frame. Let's start with her nose, which is just a little greater than, less than symbol. No big deal. Very tiny. And where is it on the paper? Let me zoom out again. I know it's a little difficult. The sort of upper right, or since you're tilted, about right there in your paper. Once you have the nose, what is below the nose? The mouth. So we're going to put a little smile that's wide on one side and narrow on the other side. A little bit of a check mark. I like to put just a little bit of a darker spot in the corner so that it looks like her lips are going into a little shadow there. And then we'll put a little mark for the lower lip. You don't have to, but if you want to draw the nostril on the outside of the nose, you can put another little curve right there. That's up to you. If you like it, do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. Then we have a handy trick that we know the nose connects right to the eyebrows, and because this is a child, it's going to be very close. Not going to go up very much at all. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but I'm going to hover my pencil. I'm not going to draw the line, but I'm going to go up from the nose until I get to the start of the other eyebrow. You can go back and forth a little bit if you need to. And just imagine where that other eyebrow is. It won't extend much farther than the mouth, so don't make it crazy long. Then the nose is going to overlap that far eye a little bit, so we only have to draw basically half of it. There's her eyelash line. It's going to go smack dab right in the middle of her nose there. And we'll only get to see part of her eye. since it's getting covered up by her nose. And you might see a little tiny bit of the lower eyelid. We're going to draw the other eye now, so I'll start with that eyelash line. Right, keep your pencil sharp. Then I'll add in that little half circle for the eye and a little tiny bit of the lower eyelid. Then we're going to shape her face a little bit. So from her eyebrow, we're going to go a little bit straight up and then curve. So she has a nice big forehead. Bigger foreheads means younger child. Then from her eye, we're going to bump out into a cheek and go and almost touch that lip line. And we're going to make a nice rounded chin. Smooth into there. Go past the eye and up into a jaw. Going to stop right at about nose level. And that's also where the bottom of the ear is going to begin. So we can put a little curve right there. If you'd like to draw pointed ears on your fairy, you can go ahead, or you can have the hair just cover up the top part of the ear. That's up to you. And I'll add just a little bump on the inside. And for the front of the neck, right there, going to happen basically underneath her eye. So when I go straight down from her eye or this eyebrow, I'm gonna have a tiny little short neck. And the back of the neck is going to go from the ear and go slightly inward, and then her back and go slightly outward. It'll look a little strange at first, but once you get some hair on there, it'll look a little better. If that's too complicated, just make a curve. That one's just basically curved. I didn't like how my hair came out on this one, so we're going to go ahead and switch over to the actual artist, Ms. Cicely Mary Barker. And we're going to do some curly hair. If you'd rather just do your own hairstyle, straight hair, you know, alien hair, that's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and look at how she's making her big S-curves where one side is big and the other side is small. So from her forehead here, I'll do a big one and a small one. And then for the other set of lines, I'm going to make it thin up at the top there, get thick in the middle, and then come into a point again. So we don't want any place of this hair to be even. It should either be going narrower to wider or back to narrower. And on this edge, we can just throw in a couple of curves. There's some hair back there, swooshing to the back. And this is our other kind of signature hairpiece, this big long coil that goes in front of her ear, or you can make it go behind her ear. It's up to you. So it starts kind of above her eyebrow, comes down. I'm going to have it go behind my ear.
Hey, Bets, can you do the thing where you give me a link to the image, please?
If you look up Pansy with Cicely Mary Barker, I think it'll pop right up. But
okay.
If you can't find it, then I will hunt it down for you.
Pansy by who again?
C-I
C-I
C-E
C-E
L-Y
L-Y
Mary M-A-R-Y
M-A-R-Y
bark, like a dog's bark, and then E-R. And this one is the Pansy. After I've drawn that main hair, I'm just adding another little hook on top, and then I'll tuck another piece of hair in there.
Yep, there it is. Found it.
Awesome.
Ooh, they sell miniature dolls based off of these.
Yep. And for this middle section, it's going to be fairly thick. Not as many curves. It's going to have just one big curve, and then maybe curl up at the end there. I'm not going to complete this shape because another one's going to come up and overlap it. I'm not going to get as detailed as this hair, but I'm just going to fill in kind of a basic shape in the back. Add some curves here. And then we learned how to color hair by starting at the root and going flicking up, and then at the tip and flicking back down. But if you want a dark hair color, let's say you want her hair to be dark brunette or black or dark blue, dark purple, you'll probably want to switch your pencil to something darker because this chocolate brown is kind of a medium dark. But if you're going to make her hair blonde, white, light blue, light pink, any of those, any lighter colors, then this one's fine. I'm just going to start where the hair grows and follow the curve and flick, 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 flick. Then I'll go from the tip of the hair, follow the curve, and flick, 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 so that there's some white left in the center. I'll do that with all of the hair except this down here by her ear. That's not in the light anyway. Not going to have any flicking motion, so I'm just going to color that in. Same thing on these hairs on the side. They're not going to have any flicking motions. You can color those in. Just these ones on top. And remember, we're going for different. Shouldn't be the same all the way across in a stripe. We want different.
Hey, are you guys still there?
Yep.
Okay, cool, because my computer froze and you stopped talking, and for a second I thought like the internet stopped.
Oh, no, we're still here.
It's giving me a prompt, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not showing me anything. It's like just making the noise and not letting me click anything.
Yeah, I can hear the like little chime being like, nope, nope, doesn't compute. And of course you can add any jewelry that you want to add. If you want to give her a little tiara or something. Put a little oval on her forehead and a little band. You can give her little antennas if you want. It's up to you. Just because we're doing a master study doesn't mean we have to copy it exactly. Next, she has this interesting sort of fluffy armband around her dress. So I'm going to start kind of below her chin and just make kind of a fluffy curve right around. I'm not going to finish it, I'm just going to do the top curve, and then I'll do this part on the other side of her neck. And that goes down in between. Very short. And then you'll notice that her arm is actually coming right out of her chin. And then we'll put the lower arm, but we're not going to do the whole arm. We're just going to start these lines here so that we know where her arm will end up. So again, we're going from, here I can get them both on here. Going right from the chin. And then not going to be very thick, maybe about as thick as the neck or a little thicker. And we'll stop on that arm right there so that we can get the other arm going and hopefully have them end up in the right places. But if not, we'll adjust. So then we've got the top of her shoulder that starts right at the bottom of her neckline and ends kind of below her ear. So I'm going to start right at the bottom of the neckline, gently flow up until I get to about the ear, and that will be the top of her shoulder. And this arm is going a little bit more down. And we'll try to make it about the same size as that first arm that we were plotting out. And I'm just going to end it in another kind of a little dot, just like our mouth, so that I know that's where it's connecting into her body. Basically drawing that right there. And once you have that, then we can complete her sleeve that comes right around that part of her arm. I'm just going to do my little zigzag all the way around. But notice it's thinner at the front right here, and then it'll get thicker as it goes around. So over here, I'll put them really close together. And I'll get a little farther apart. And a little more farther apart. Put the thickest on this outside edge here. And right off the edge of that sleeve, we have her back starting to come down and a little bit forward. So I'm not going to go straight down. I'll go just slightly to my left, not very far. And we'll go ahead and keep this one going until it gets to an elbow. And then we'll flatten out the angle just a little bit. I'm sketching very, very lightly with my colored pencil. Kind of like the ballpoint pen, even though you can't erase it very well. If you start out with really light lines and then just darken the lines that you want to keep later, those lighter lines won't mess up your drawing. They won't confuse. It won't confuse you as much. One key little overlap is that this lower part of the arm needs to overlap that upper part of the arm. It needs to cross over. And for this other arm, the elbows are going to be located pretty much one on top of the other. So now I know that this one's going to extend until it gets to about the same level as that elbow. And then her arm is going to go more up. So I'm going to angle this one up. And again, these wrists end about here, so those wrists will also end right about there. And that lower arm is going to overlap that line just a little bit. Let's go ahead and do this top hand first because it's easier. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So we're going to be drawing this thumb first, and it's going to kind of float out in the middle. Straight line on top, curved line on bottom, and then a bigger curve. It's going to look funny at first, but then you're going to draw your arm line coming up and above that thumb just a little bit. And phew, all of a sudden looks normal again. She's going to be holding on to that flower stem, so we can put a little indicator of that stem right in her hand there. And we're not going to draw the other side yet. We're actually going to go ahead and draw the fingers first because we want to make sure that this stem doesn't get so thick that it looks like she has super long spider fingers. So we want to draw those fingers very close to the thumb, and they're just like little curved shapes like that, little curved beans. They're going to be right up next to one another. Think of your own fingers. The first one is not as long as the second one. And the next one's a little shorter. And then the pinky finger is shortest. Oh. I'll zoom in a little bit more here. I know these are tiny, tiny details. Probably have to sharpen your pencil. After you have those fingers, don't just follow the fingers for the stem or else it'll go off in a crazy direction. It's okay if that pinky is flying off. We want those two lines to be parallel. We'll just connect the pinky back with a tiny little line. And I want to make sure that I've got a little overlap of the wrist there. And for the other hand, this one, the wrist overlaps a little bit, so I can go ahead and have a little overlapping line where I want my wrist to be. Then we'll go up to that thumb, pretty much a straight line out. Curved line on the bottom. On the other side, it's going a little bit diagonally down. to get the width of the palm there a little bit. Then this first finger is going to go all the way back, almost touch that line. You can just kind of go straight out in front if you want. It'll get a little bit thicker as it comes back to the palm, but I'm going to stop about halfway. And you can see this little V, sideways V, greater than, less than symbol right between your fingers. So I'll just put another angle there. That finger's a tiny bit longer, not by much. And those other fingers, they are being overlapped. So we're just going to draw a couple more lines coming diagonally from underneath that finger. If you want the pinky finger to stick out too, you can do that. It looks like that. Or you can just have them all curled underneath. That's fine too. And you can see the stem comes right underneath that arm. So we can extend these lines. Doesn't really matter where the stem goes. That's up to you. Just try not to stop it right there, because then it's kind of like, well, where did the rest of the stem go? We want to make sure that it flows to the other side just a little bit so we can tell which shape is overlapping which other shape. Then for the flow of the dress, we're going to take a look at this line that starts right at the bottom of the sleeve here and comes forward until it gets to about below the elbow. So from bottom of the sleeve, kind of wrap around, come forward until it gets to about the elbow. That's going to tell us about how long the dress is. And then we can start with our little ruffly edge. So this ruffled edge here, zoom in. The bumps are going to kind of mean something here. If it curves up, it's going to make this kind of curvy cone shape. So we want one of those. Then it'll curve the other way where it'll be shaded. So you can see in here, here's a curve, cone shape. This one I kind of messed up on, but here's a curve, cone shape. We're going to have a couple of those throughout the dress. So over on mine over here, I'm going to make this a cone shape. So I'll just have the curve going up. The very next one has to curl the other way, down. So there's your funny looking number 2. And then this curve is going to turn a little bit into a cone. So I'm going to have a line go up. It's not going to really touch anything. It's just going to get closer. You'll have a little peekaboo line in here where this curve turns. We'll put a little line on the inside. Then we'll reverse it. We'll come back in. Make another little one has to be either wider or narrower than the first one because we want to make them all different. Once you have your curve, you're going to make another kind of twisting cone. Instead of just going, we can get lost really quick that way. We're going to go ahead and do the front of the dress. Let me back up here so you can see. So if we've got her straight up and down, the front of her dress goes pretty much straight down on both sides where we had her body. And then this part of the skirt is going to curl forward, and this whole thing is going to make a curve, meaning this part is going to be higher, higher, and then lower. So we come back to our drawing, we've got the low. We're going to take that straight line from there, we're going to place it over there too. And then we're going to flow this down, light and airy, but we know we have to stop higher than this one down here. Then when I continue my curl, I'm going to go back in. And then over here, you can just kind of fudge it, go up and down squiggles where the wind is catching it maybe. You need her skirt to be a little fuller, that's okay. You can just add one more little cone over here. Technically, you can just keep adding little cones if you need it fuller and fuller. You just got to make sure that they're what? Higher on the paper so that they make a curve. Any bump curving up, I'm going to stick in a couple of wrinkle lines. They can flow back into one another also. And you can make some that are just partial. Remember, we don't want things to look stripy. Unless you're doing like a cheerleader uniform or something that actually has stripes. So now we're going to flip our papers back to normal. And we'll see that we have a nice leaning character. So her standing leg, the one with the weight on it, ideally the foot will end up right underneath her neck, which I missed the mark on this one, and it's okay. She still looks like she's dancing and not falling over. But to try to get that to work, what we're going to do is use the edge of the face or the front of the neck. Oh, kind of trace it down, 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 down. And just kind of give us a reference point, just a little dot. Later it can be dirt. Don't worry about how long the leg is going to be. Just we want that kind of visual connection between there, and that's our plumb line or our gravity line. And you might be thinking, uh-oh, her skirt's way over here. How am I going to get her leg way back over here? That's okay. We can add skirt in the back, and the wind can be blowing this one forwards. Don't worry about that. So imagine if your skirt is continuing that way. Side of her face, this is going to be the front of her knee coming down here. There's her knee. And where is it? You just kind of have to look at your own drawing too. Is it kind of in the middle of her arm? Or you can imagine from her neck curving, that'll hit the front of her knee. And something we know about knees is that the kneecap and the back of the knee face the same direction. So I'm going to give a little curved line for the back of the knee. How thick should it be? Probably about the same thickness as her neck or as her upper arm, a little thicker than that. But since they're fairies, they can be very, very thin, and it's okay. Because you just say, they're fairies. They gotta fly with butterfly wings. They gotta be light. Now that I know where her leg is, I can go ahead and continue the skirt. You can just wiggle your lines or do your ruffle. It's up to you. I'm going to stop right after it passes the leg, like that. So I've got my whole ruffle line now. And then we'll just connect it up. Add a few more lines to the skirt. Legs we know kind of straight in the front where there's that shin bone, so I'll just come down. And we know on the back there's going to be muscle at the top and then a straight section. Not a big muscle because she probably doesn't go to the fairy gym. Just a slight curve and a little bit more straight. Then we'll come out just a little bit for the heel. See if I can zoom in here so you can get a better look at what we're seeing. So I'm showing a little bit of the bottom of her foot here. So I'll come down. This is outside line here. Come down and then switch the curve. So it's going like that a little bit, not that deep. It is switching direction. And then you can draw that little curve for the heel. Very, very similar to those windows that we were just drawing in the class previous to this one. So see, all your skills come around. They're applicable to different things. And then not from the end of this line, but from a little bit above, so that there's that little bit of overlap. I'll put in the wedge of her foot and go almost down even. But before I get there, I'm going to have her toe wrap around that line. So we have another little overlap right there. You can just color that in if you want to. And for her shoe, even though it's this spiky line like it's made out of pansy leaves, make sure you're getting this curving around the heel. So this top part is going to curve, even though it's spiky. Come down thin, and just connect right up with her toe. Then we'll switch over to her front leg. Her front leg is pretty much a continuation of the whole line of her body. So if you want to turn your paper again, you can do that. If you want to make sure that it looks good from right ways up, then just stay like this. Either way is good. But just like we did with the elbows, we were looking, okay, elbows are going to be in about the same spot. Knees, this one is definitely going to be lower, and this one's going to be higher. So as we have this other leg come out from underneath the dress, I'm not going to go below this level. Might be a little closer to the skirt than the other one. When I draw the front part of the leg, how long should I make it? Just about as long as that one. A little bit of a straight part at the ankle, and a muscle on the back, but not a big one. And this toe is pointed, so we're going to have just a very slight bump right there for the top of the foot, where the shoelaces would be if she had shoelaces. And then we'll put on a little point for the toe. The heel is going to be behind the ankle. So we're not just connecting the dots or just connecting the lines, we need to overlap the lines. Something has to be in front of something else. Then we have her shoe again, even though it's got those jagged edges, we're going to make sure it goes around her foot. And I'm also going to add another little mark by her knee so that we can see she's kind of rotating her leg toward us, and we can see more of the knee than we would in a side view. Don't forget to breathe and sharpen your pencils. These are long classes. You guys are real troopers for doing these fairies, I gotta say. So what do we have left? The flower. Oh, and her wings. Okay, we can do that. Let's zoom into the flower first here. So this is a super duper easy flower. First off, we're not going to connect it to the stem. We're going to come a little bit over to the left and we'll make a triangle. From all points of the triangle, we'll make some lines, some short ones at first, and those will separate the three petals. But sometimes there's a little space between the petals, so then it's going to turn into a little upside down letter Y. Over here, we're going to have a little branching off, a little space in between. I'm going to try to make them all different. I don't want to just draw the same Y on all three of them. I want them all to be different. Then this first petal over here just has kind of a gentle rolling edge.
Kristen, what does that look like to you?
Is it not a pansy?
No, before you put the curl on it, I'm sure Kristen recognizes it.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a cat, yeah.
If you have a diagonal nose like that, that's cat.
Cat.
Yeah.
Slanty eyes.
Oh,
With the slanty eyes.
of course it's a cat.
This one over here has a little bit of that same skirt ruffle, where we're going to have that big curve.
Excuse me. I love this class. It's the shortest do. The yawning is just me.
All right. And when we have that big curve, we're going to need that peekaboo line underneath to show the back side, and then one on top to show the wrinkle. Then this last one on top has a little bit of a curl happening right on the edge here. So we're going to have this little triangular piece that'll be a part of a curve. You can do one on the other side too if you want. Tiny little triangular piece or kind of like a fang. And then at the top there we'll do a little curve. And when we connect it, we're just going to get taller, taller, taller until we get to the middle and then come back down again. Taller, 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 got to the middle and we'll come back down. That one's a little pointy, oh well. And there's another flower facing the other way, so we're just going to make kind of a fan shape behind our main flower, and that one will overlap the stem a little bit. So we're going to come out of this petal here, make a little frilly edge on top. You want to add a few lines going down like a fan, you can do that.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yep.
Okay. I got distracted. How? I don't know.
It's a long class, that's what I'm saying. You guys are real.
No, I think I was thinking about her pinky finger, whether I wanted a pinky finger or not. Okay, go. I'm back.
Okay. If you have room, you can put one more little petal sticking out in between the two. If you don't have room or you don't like it, don't do it.
Where?
Right in between this flower and this flower. So I've got it right here.
Got it.
Then we need to connect it to the stem. The stem is going to have this little bump right there before it goes up. Right into that petal. And the other side just goes right up. And there's a couple of green things sticking out from underneath those petals, so we can just put some little wiggly shapes. Once they're colored green, it'll make sense. And these are the first wings that aren't exactly butterfly wings. They're more like flower petals. They should be a little bit easier. Good news for us. We're going to start with this lower one that does not go above her arm. So there's her arm. I'm going to stay below it. Go down. And it's pretty rounded on the edge. If you want to do your guidelines first, you can do that. Or if you just want to make a wiggly line, kind of like the flower petals earlier, you can do that too. If you want that curled edge, you can put a little shape on the outside there. That's up to you. A little sliver of a shape. And we'll have a couple of lines coming from the place of origin here, where it comes into her back. Just little flicky lines. Kind of like cat whiskers. Then we have another wing that goes up above the arm into a point and then comes back around into that first wing. We'll start up here by her shoulder, flowing up. And then we'll have a little wiggly line. Not going to connect to that one. It's going to go around it a little bit. And then connect in. And then this different color here is actually the wing on the other side. If you want to draw in another wing, you can do that. Or if you want to just draw the one wing, that's fine too. This time I think I'll make it shorter than that one. And we've completed the line art. Hooray! You want to stick a little shadow down by her foot? You could do that too, so it looks more like she's lifting that other leg off. We might not have time to color the whole thing. What seems to be the hardest part that you'd like to do together?
Flower.
The flower, okay. Let's go into the flower.
I mean, take a vote.
Oh no, the flower's good. Let's start anywhere and go for it.
Start anywhere, go for it, okay.
Do one petal and then move on to like a wing. But
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, we'll do that. So I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to color the entire petal just lightly. Even though it's going to be covered up with other colors, we think of this kind of like watercolor where we're going to see a little bit of the colors shine through the other colors. So we want to color the whole thing. Then I'll get my red. And a little bit like the hair, I'm going to flick so that we get this feathered edge up here. I'm going to flick upward. I don't really care what shape I'm making with the red. I'm looking at the border of yellow that's staying. I want to try to make that fairly even across, not perfectly even, but generally the same. And you can see I'm tilting my pencil to make a fan. I'm not just going straight up and down. That's going to help with the illusion of the petal growing outward. Then I'll do the same thing for the edge that's going toward the middle, feather it out a little bit. And we'll repeat that process with your really dark chocolate brown, dark brown, almost black. But this time I'm going to leave a band of red.
Oh, shoot.
Or you just have a different type of pansy that has a different
Right.
color
Oh,
pattern.
I got the gardeners coming. Come on, guys.
Oh, gardeners are coming. Got it.
I forgot they were coming. Come on.
I forgot in the center of the flower too, you can add a couple of ovals so that it looks like there's some flower stuff in there. We'll do the stem next because the stem's super easy. We'll color the whole thing with a light green first. For the same reason, the light green is going to shine through, going to help layer the colors.
I got tortoise poop everywhere. I'm out.
Timmy.
Oh no. Hi.
Hi.
And I'll get my dark green and just color the right side.
My dog is upset, looking all sad at me because I'm sitting in a chair that can't fit the laptop in my lap and her at the same time.
Oh.
How thoughtless of you.
Yeah.
And then those flower petals will cast a shadow right across the top, so I'll just color the whole top right there. and those green parts sticking out from underneath the flower. You can put the light green first if you want, but since they're in the shadow, it's fine if they're just dark green. Next vote, what do you guys want to color together?
Dress.
Dress?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the dress. We're going to start with our yellow again. And let me close this so I can see a little better here. We're going to color the entire armband just lightly, all the way around that fuzzy little border piece. And then also a little bit on the front of her dress. Some yellow in there. There's a little bit of a darker yellow on the edge. If you don't have a darker yellow and you have an orange, that'll work too. So we'll just give a little bit of depth by changing that yellow. Just on the front of the dress, not on the sleeves at all. Then we'll get our lighter purple for this shadowy area on her arm, or you can use your orange if you'd rather have the color stay more pure. But I'm just going to very lightly.
So would that be the blue if have only one purple? And
Yeah,
blue?
or you can do the blue. You're just doing a really, really, really light coloring to put a little shadow on there, just on the bottom part. And then you have your light color and your dark color. This might be a blue and a purple, blue being for the shadows, or it could be two purples, doesn't really matter. Your darker color is going to go on the areas where the curve is going down. I'm going to lay in a shadow where it's going down. I'll start very, very dark at the bottom, and then I'll get lighter, 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 lighter as I go up to the top. Here's another one. It's curving down. I'll go lighter, 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 lighter up to the top. Or basically, you can just follow the lines that you put in earlier. Dark over here. Lighter, 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 lighter. And because the edges of the dress are far away from us, we'll give them a light coating of this shadow color. And then all that's left to do is take your lighter color and go right over the top of everything, even over the shadow areas. I'm going to go over the entire thing. It looks even better if you follow the flow of the dress rather than just scratching sideways. If you follow the flow of your lines. And for the wings in the original, there's lots of colors since she's using watercolor. She's got yellow, orange, blue, purple, kind of a red plum color. She's got all these colors in here. And when I tried to do that with colored pencil, it got kind of muddy. I wasn't real happy with it. So I'm just going to stick to the same colors that I used for the dress. If you want to use more colors, of course, that's up to you. I'll start with my darker color, the same one you used for the shadow on the dress. And I'll start coloring next to the lines that I made.
How do I mute me? There we go.
Same thing for the bigger wing up here too. Going to color in the source. It's coming from her back. And then just lightly a few spots on the edge, just to give a little bit of variation. Then we'll go over the entire thing with our lighter purple, but I'm still going to follow the direction of my line so that I can get that texture from my pencil, showing how the shape flows to the ends. That one in the back is probably going to be darker than the ones in the front, so I'll just take my shadow color, color that all in. And if your brown lines are looking too light or they're looking like the wrong color, you can just go over your brown lines with your purple or your blue. Your shoes are the same as the stem. You take your light green, color the whole thing. And get your darker green. You just color the bottom of the shoe on this side and the bottom of the shoe on this side. Then for her skin, I'm going to use the red that I used on the flower as well as some kind of peachy color. Or if you want to make her skin blue or yellow or green or whatever other color, you just need a light version and a darker version. And with the red, we're just going to highlight a couple of spots on her face here. I'll color in a little bit on her lower lip, just lightly. Very lightly on the tip of her nose. Very lightly underneath her eyebrow. And very lightly on her cheeks. All the makeup spots, basically. And then I'll also put a little bit of red on her ear. The shadow there. And right underneath her chin. A little shadow there. I'll leave that up for a minute so you can get all the spots on the face. You can pick whatever color you want for that little jewel and whatever color you want for her eyes. And I'll take my lighter peachy color and just lightly color right over my shadows, right over the red.
Betsy, I don't have a peachy color. What would you say? A light, just lightly brown or yellow?
Yeah, if you have a tan, you can do a light tan, or just gently press on tan. Or if you have something kind of like a pale yellow ochre, sometimes that will pass as a skin color. Or if you like, basically in hers, if I bump up my camera here, maybe it's easier to see.
Yellowish pink, huh?
Yeah, you can do yellowish pink, or you can just leave this part white and you can just stick in your shadows, and that'll work too. And on her arms, you'll probably have a little bit of red on the elbow. You can do this whole shadow on the under part here. You can put a little red on the fingertips, or you can make little dots for the knuckles if you want. Whatever you think looks better. They're both good. Same thing on the other arm. I'm just going to lightly come with my red on the bottom of the arm for a shadow. And then right over the top with my base color. And since her dress is casting a shadow, we'll have a shadow that kind of mimics what the skirt is doing right at the top there, and just color that in lightly. Over here too, I'll color that in lightly. In the bottom of the knees, here's a little shadow. And ankles. If we could see her toes, also her toes, but we can't, so just ankles. And coming back with my peachy color. Or if your orange isn't neon, you can also do that very, very lightly. Or you start drawing some blue skin fairies. You can color the hair whatever color you want, or just leave it with the white. That's up to you. But if you try to make it like a dark blue color, the brown isn't dark enough to be the shadow, so you'd have to go over your brown with black or a darker color. I'll just use my yellow, color that in. Maybe she has one lock of red hair. Make it interesting. Meh. Should have left it alone, oh well. Just 5 more minutes, we might be able to finish coloring. If not, you'll have a whole week until next fairy class. And if you're anything like me, you'll probably want to take pictures of your fairies as you finish them, so that when the winter show comes around, you'll have all your photos ready to send in for the winter show. Hopefully you've all seen the summer show by now. Lots of great art from you guys.
How do we find that show? Just go to the Jagged Line site?
Yep, it's right there on the home page.
Okay. You know, Kristen, we
Yes,
should
ma'am.
we should do, or you should do, or whoever should do a show of people's beginning when they first started with you guys, art, and put work next to it that they're doing now.
Some of us might be very embarrassed.
Why? You mean that you wouldn't show any improvement?
No, we might be just thinking, I could never have been that bad. Never.
Oh, silly. That's silly, Kristen. Hey, I had trouble with figure, so I have no embarrassment factor.
There's 2 minutes left. Anybody want to show their work so far?
Sure. I had a lot of problems with this little chickie.
She was difficult.
And she ended up, I actually,
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
look how I reversed her legs. I'm trying to
Oh, well, that's fine.
she was supposed to be,
First it.
well, her hips were supposed to be twisting the other way, so you'd look at the bottom of that.
Yeah, the bottom of the shoe. Mm-hmm.
But her hips weren't twisted right, so I turned her legs to go with her hips.
Yeah, that's what you do. You just improvise. You just keep going with it.
No shoe bottom for me. She's also not very tilted, but
Yeah, that's how mine came out the first time. Yeah. That tilt is hard. Even when you're twisting your paper, it's hard.
well, that twisting the paper didn't really work too well for me because it kept twisting back.
Just kept twisting back. Yeah, exactly.
Boy, you have to have the sharpest pencils for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, that's hard.
Sharpening pencils. Who's next?
Who do we have?
Callista, anything?
What do you got?
Oh, look how lovely.
She's got the feet right. Yes, she does.
Oh, I like that hair decoration too. That little ribbon on top of her head.
I like her face. Boy, she's got a
Yeah, that's a good face. Nice job, Callista. How'd your mom do?
Nice wings. Let's see the other one. What do you think?
She's inspecting it first. Oh, very
Oh,
nice.
look at that hair. Wow. And look at that wing.
Yeah, you guys are doing a good job.
I got big hair again too.
But wait, now show that one more. Is she like missing a leg?
It's not finished. That's all. Yeah,
It's not done yet, that's all. It's just not colored yet.
Oh, I see it. I see it. Yeah. All right. Very good.
Yeah, there you go.
Just not colored in yet. Stephanie, what do you got?
big hair.
Ooh, big
Whoa!
hair. Oh, I like the little antennas. No, there's a cute-
An antenna.
Big
Boy,
hair.
your flower is gorgeous.
Kind of, well, I needed to. What? I don't care. It was.
That's
I
right.
like my flower better than my fairy. Oh, and I like your flower too.
Yeah,
The
your
flowers
flowers
are
are cool.
really fun.